By the age of 20, Assunta Pupetta Moresca had already committed her first kill, but she wasn't the only woman to make waves in the Mafia underworld. Maria Luchiardi of Secondigliano, Naples, would go on to reshape the Italian Mafia from behind the scenes, while Armenia Giuliano was rising as a feared force in the criminal world. In this video, I'll be taking you through some of the youngest female Mafia bosses who are still active today. Assunta Pupetta Moresca. Our first subject is the infamous Assunta Pupetta Moresca, a woman whose story reads like a crime thriller and whose influence continues to echo through the Camorra's ranks even after her death. Born on January 19, 1935, in Castellammare di Stabia, a coastal town south of Naples, Pupetta was the only daughter among 4 brothers in a family deeply entrenched in organized crime. The Moresca family wasn't just connected to the criminal underworld, they were notorious figures within it. Her father, Alberto Moresca, was a known smuggler, and her uncle, Vincenzo Moresca, was a camorrista who served 7 years for murdering his own brother. The family earned the chilling nickname Lightning Knives, Lampettielli in Italian, for their expert use of switchblades in their criminal endeavors, primarily contraband cigarette smuggling. Growing up in this environment, young Assunta was surrounded by violence and criminality from her earliest days. Despite this dark backdrop, Pupetta, whose nickname means Little Doll due to her petite stature and striking beauty, had a parallel identity as a local beauty queen. At 19 and 1953, she won the Miss Rovegliano beauty contest, establishing a fascinating dichotomy between her public image and her criminal associations. But the defining moment in Pupetta's life came in 1955. At just 20 years old and 6 months pregnant, she married Pasquale Simonetti, a prominent Camorra boss known as Pascalone e Nola. Due to his large stature, Simonetti controlled the fruit and vegetable markets in Naples and was deeply involved in smuggled goods. Their marriage, however, was tragically brief. Just 3 months after their wedding, on July 16, 1955, Simonetti was assassinated in a central Naples square on the orders of Antonio Esposito, a rival Camorra boss who had ironically served as the best man at their wedding. What happened next catapulted Pupetta into criminal infamy. Devastated and seeking vengeance, on August 4, 1955, she confronted Esposito on a busy Naples street and shot him dead with a .38 Smith & Wesson revolver. She didn't just shoot him, she fired 29 bullets to ensure his death. Later, she would explain that she gripped the gun with both hands, saying, "I was afraid I would miss." This brazen act of revenge, committed in broad daylight, transformed Pupetta from a beauty queen into a feared and respected figure within the Camorra. Her trial in 1959 became a media spectacle, drawing global attention and dividing public opinion. Supporters, dubbed Pupettisti, admired her for seeking justice, while detractors, or anti-Pupettisti, condemned her criminality. During the hearings, Pupetta famously declared, "I killed for love," a statement that resonated with many Neapolitans and cemented her status as a folk hero among the city's criminal elite. She was ultimately sentenced to 18 years in prison, later reduced to 13 years and 4 months on appeal. While incarcerated, she gave birth to her son, Pasquale, named after her late husband. Pupetta was pardoned in 1965 after serving approximately a third of her sentence, a decision influenced by public fascination and her status as a young mother. After her release, Pupetta capitalized on her notoriety. She acted in a film inspired by her life, Delitto a Posillipo, Londra Chiama Napoli, 1967, and opened 2 clothing shops in Naples. But her criminal connections remained intact. She entered a relationship with Umberto Amaturo, a drug trafficker and arms dealer, and had twins with him. Tragedy struck again in January 1974 when Pupetta's son Pasquale, then 18, was abducted and murdered. It was widely suspected that Amaturo was responsible, with some believing the body was buried in cement at a Naples flyover construction site. Despite these suspicions, Amaturo was acquitted due to insufficient evidence. Throughout the 1980s, Pupetta continued to make waves in the criminal underworld. In 1982, she held a press conference to publicly challenge Rafael Cutolo, the powerful boss of the Nuova Camorra Organizzata, NCO, an extraordinarily bold move that underscored her influence and fearlessness. Although Pupetta died on December 29, 2021, at the age of 86, her legacy lives on in the Camorra. But Pupetta was just the beginning. If her story blurred the line between vengeance and folklore, our next figure took things even further, turning organized crime into a calculated empire. Let's move from the romanticized vengeance of the 1950s to the cold efficiency of the 1990s with Maria Luchiardi, the woman who turned the Camorra into a corporation. Maria Luchiardi. Now let's turn our attention to Maria Luchiardi, perhaps the most powerful female boss in recent Italian mafia history, known ominously as La Madrina, the Godmother. Born on March 24, 1951 in Secondigliano, Naples, Maria Luchiardi came from a family deeply entrenched in the Camorra. Her father was a local boss, or guapo, and her brothers, Gennaro, Asigna, and Vincenzo, were prominent figures in the organization. Her husband, Antonio Tegemie, was also a Camorra member, creating a web of criminal connections that would later serve her well. Luchiardi's rise to power came in 1993, following the arrests of her brothers Pietro, Vincenzo, and her husband. With the male leadership decimated, she assumed control of the Luchiardi clan and the Secondigliano alliance, a coalition of powerful Camorra clans. This marked a historic moment. She became the first woman to lead both the clan and this influential alliance. Despite her small stature, which earned her the nickname La Piccolina, the little girl, or La Picciarella in Neapolitan dialect, Luchiardi commanded immense respect and fear. Her subordinates called her La Madrina, the Godmother, while among Camorra women, she was known as La Principessa, the Princess, titles that reflected her high standing and influence. Under Luchiardi's leadership, the clan expanded its operations dramatically. They controlled drug trafficking, extortion, and other rackets in Naples' suburbs. But what truly set her apart was her willingness to break traditional Camorra codes. She introduced into the clan's activities, reportedly purchasing girls, often underage, from the Albanian Mafia for around $2,000 and forcing them into drug use, significantly broadening the clan's revenue streams. Her involvement in drug trafficking was particularly notorious. In 1999, a batch of heroin from Istanbul was deemed too potent by Luchiardi and should not have been sold. However, the LaRusso clan disobeyed, distributing it and causing 11 deaths in April 1999. This incident led to public outrage, police crackdowns, and a gang war that resulted in approximately 120 deaths, underscoring the violent consequences of her leadership decisions. Luchiardi was also known for her strategic use of corruption and violence. She bribed pentiti, repentant mafia members, to retract their statements, such as bribing Constantino Saro with 300 million lire in January 1998. While on the run, she allegedly ordered the murders of rival mobsters, and in January 2001, her clan bombed the office of prosecutor Luigi Bobbio as a warning, demonstrating her ruthless approach to maintaining power. Her management style was described as practical, charming, intelligent, and ruthless. Inspired by Rosetta Cutolo, another notable Camorra figure, Luchiardi managed the clan like a multinational corporation, providing employment opportunities in Secondigliano, where social security was lacking, thus gaining local support. Luchiardi's first arrest came in 2001, after being one of the most powerful bosses of the Camorra in Naples since 1993. She served 8 years in prison and was released in 2009, promptly resuming her criminal activities. Her freedom wouldn't last forever, though. On August 7, 2021, she was arrested at Rome's Ciampino airport while attempting to board a flight to Malaga, Spain, reportedly to visit her daughter. Charged with extortion and other crimes related to her leadership, her arrest made headlines worldwide. The final chapter in Luchiardi's criminal career came on March 15, 2023, when an Italian court sentenced her to 12 years and 8 months in prison for her role as the leader of the Camorra clan. She is currently serving her sentence under the strict 41 bis regime, Italy's harshest prison conditions reserved for high-profile mafia members. At 74 years old in 2025, Luchiardi remains a legendary figure in the Camorra. Her leadership had a profound impact on Naples, contributing to the clan's power and the city's struggles with organized crime. Culturally, she is believed to have inspired the character of the chain-smoking female mob boss in the TV series Gomorrah, based on Roberto Saviano's book about the Naples Mafia. While Maria Luchiardi proved a woman could run the show with corporate strategy and brutal discipline, another woman in Naples was carving out her own bloody legacy with a much more personal touch. Meet Armenia Giuliano, whose name still sends shivers down the spine of Naples' underworld. Armenia Giuliano. Let's now turn our attention to another formidable female figure in the Camorra, Armenia Giuliano, known as Celeste for her striking blue eyes, a woman whose beauty concealed a calculating criminal mind. Born on December 31, 1955, in Naples, Armenia Giuliano emerged as a significant figure in the Giuliano clan, based in the Forcella district of Naples. Unlike some who married into power, Giuliano's authority came through her family connections, particularly after the arrest of her brother Luigi Giuliano in early 2000. The Giuliano clan clan was one of the most influential criminal organizations in Naples, and Armenia took over the clan's criminal enterprises in the 1990s. Her leadership wasn't by default. She was deemed more capable than other male heirs, such as her nephew Pio Vittorio Giuliano, who were perceived as less competent. Under her direction, the clan specialized in counterfeiting banknotes, a lucrative enterprise that highlighted her strategic acumen. But her criminal portfolio extended far beyond fake currency. The clan's activities included drug trafficking and illegal betting on football matches, with connections to high-profile figures like Diego Maradona, who played for Napoli. According to her brother Carmine, Maradona was reportedly involved in the clan's cocaine trade, adding a layer of celebrity intrigue to the Giuliano operation. What set Armenia apart was her willingness to engage in violence personally, something unusual even among female mafia bosses. She allegedly stabbed a rival female gang leader in 1997 and drove a car into an enemy's shop window in 1999, demonstrating a hands-on approach to settling scores and maintaining the clan's reputation. Her violent tendencies and leadership qualities led Naples Police Chief Carlo Gualdi to note that she possessed qualities typically associated with crime godfathers. This recognition from law enforcement speaks volumes about her impact and the fear she instilled. Giuliano's criminal activities eventually earned her a place among Italy's 30 most dangerous criminals. She became a fugitive in 2000, evading capture for over 10 months before her arrest on December 23, 2000. The circumstances of her capture reveal much about her character. Police found her hidden in a secret room behind a kitchen cupboard and sliding wall panel in her daughter's house in Forcella. Even in the moment of arrest, she maintained her composure and style. She insisted on taking a shower and having her hairdresser visit before leaving with the police, eventually departing in high heels and a fake leopard skin coat. This attention to appearance, even in crisis, speaks to her self-image and the persona she cultivated. Following her imprisonment, Giuliano was released at an unspecified date and relocated to Formia, Lazio. Her legal troubles continued, with significant developments in 2019 when the Italian state seized her assets based on her failure to report a change in her patrimony. Specifically, she had acquired a usufruct right on an immobile in Naples for 25,000 euros in May 2013 without reporting it as required by law due to her 2007 conviction for association for delinquency of Mafia type 416 BIs. The investigation, conducted by the Guardia di Finanza of Formia in October 2018, involved a search of her residence in Via del Vin, looking for cash, deposit certificates, state bonds, bank savings books, safety deposit box keys, and precious objects. This financial scrutiny highlights how even former mafia figures remain under the watchful eye of authorities long after their apparent retirement from criminal activities. As of 2021, Giuliano, then 66 years old, faced a remaining sentence of 14 years for drug trafficking, part of a cumulative 30-year sentence. However, due to severe health issues, specifically a severe form of myocarditis, she was granted house arrest, making her incompatible with prison detention. She was reported to be under house arrest at her residence in Formia, having been previously hospitalized in a clinic in Pomigliano. Now at 69 years old in 2025, Giuliano likely remains under house arrest, though her exact current condition would require updates from legal or news sources. Despite her reduced circumstances, her legacy in the Camorra remains significant. She represents a pivotal figure in discussions about the role of women in organized crime, with her story referenced in books like Mafia Women by Claire Longrig and articles discussing the rise of female power in mafia structures. Armenia Giuliano may have led through force and reputation, but our next subject stepped directly into the line of fire. Christina Pinto, better known by her war name Nikita, didn't just order violence, she carried it out herself, one bullet at a time. Christina Pinto, Nikita. Few female mafia figures embody the transformation from violent enforcer to public redemption quite like Christina Pinto, known in the criminal underworld by her chilling nickname Nikita. Born on July 21, 1969, in Masseria Grande, Pianura, a neighborhood in Naples known for its historical ties to organized crime, Pinto's entry into the world of the Camorra seemed almost predetermined by her surroundings. Her mother was involved in drug dealing, while her father worked as a contractor, creating an environment where criminal activities were normalized from her earliest years. By the tender age of 16, Pinto had already begun her descent into criminality. What started as petty theft and minor drug dealing soon escalated to more serious offenses as she caught the attention of more established criminal figures. Her real break, if you can call it that, came when she joined the Perella clan, one of the most powerful factions within the Camorra. Led by Mario Perella, this clan was deeply entrenched in narcotics trafficking, extortion, and violent feuds, particularly against the rival Puccinelli clan. Pinto earned her nickname Nikita due due to her proficiency with firearms, a reference to the fictional female assassin that reflected her deadly skills. She wasn't just any member of the clan. She served as Perella's bodyguard and right-hand woman, a position of considerable trust and power. Her duties included participating in armed ambushes, break-ins, and the collection of payments from cocaine sales. She was also involved in the clan's illegal toxic waste disposal operations and the elimination of rivals. According to one collaborator named Buonacor, she was capable of any criminal action, particularly those requiring the use of weapons. The feud between the Perella and Puccinelli clans was particularly bloody, resulting in 40 deaths in less than 2 years. One of the most tragic incidents involved the killing of an 11-year-old innocent, Fabio De Pandi, who was struck by a stray bullet during one of the clashes. This senseless death highlighted the brutal reality of the world Pinto inhabited. Her criminal career came to an abrupt halt on June 18, 1992, when she was arrested during an attempt to hide. The circumstances of her arrest were particularly poignant. She was carrying her 3-year-old daughter, Elena, and a suitcase, underscoring the personal toll of her choices. She was sentenced to 30 years in prison, but ultimately served 22 years, being released in 2014. During her incarceration, Pinto had time to reflect on the profound impact of the Camorra on her life and the lives of her loved ones. This period of reflection would later inform her public statements and writings about her experiences. Following her release, Pinto transitioned to a quieter life as a professional fisherwoman, working on a 10-meter fishing boat. This career shift represented a dramatic departure from her previous life of violence. In interviews, she has expressed mixed feelings about her new occupation, admitting to not being entirely happy, but stating that she lives for her daughter Elena, whom she barely saw during her 23 years in prison. Pinto's story gained wider attention when she shared it through various media outlets. She participated in the Sky docuseries Camorristi, where she discussed her past with remarkable candor. She has been particularly critical of the new generation of women bosses in the Mafia, describing them as more violent and irrational. In one interview, she stated, "These women are worse than men. They order murders just like that, not even thinking about the consequences." Her relationship with her daughter, Elena, now 30, was severely impacted by her imprisonment. Elena grew up with Pinto's sister while her mother was in prison. However, they have reunited since Pinto's release. In a touching moment, Pinto recalled apologizing to her daughter, who responded, "You didn't have to because you had already paid for your faults." In 2025, Pinto took a significant step in her journey of redemption by releasing her autobiography, Nikita, Storia di una Camorrista, co-authored with Stefania Francini and published by IOD Edizioni. What makes Pinto's story particularly relevant to our exploration of female mafia bosses is the insight she provides into how young women are recruited into these organizations and how they can rise to positions of significant power. Her journey from teenage recruit to trusted enforcer to public figure offers a rare glimpse into the internal workings of the Camorra and the role women play within it. While Pinto herself has left her criminal past behind, her experiences and observations remain valuable for understanding the evolution of female leadership in mafia organizations. And yet, not all female power in the Camorra came through violence. If Nikita was the trigger puller, Maria Campagna was the chess master, quiet, strategic, and practically invisible to the public. Her strength came not from notoriety, but from silence. Maria Campagna. While some female mafia bosses have gained notoriety through public actions or high-profile arrests, others operate more discreetly, maintaining power through careful management and strategic invisibility. Maria Campagna represents this more elusive type of female boss, whose influence might be substantial, despite a lower public profile. Born and raised in Sicily, Maria Campagna rose to prominence within the Camorra not through violence or dramatic acts, but through her organizational skills and ability to maintain clan operations during critical periods. Unlike some of the other women we've discussed, Campagna's ascent to power came through her marriage to Salvatore Capello, a significant figure in the Sicilian criminal landscape. When her husband was imprisoned, Campagna stepped into his role, effectively becoming the de facto leader of his criminal enterprise. This pattern, women assuming control when male relatives are incarcerated, is increasingly common in Italian mafia organizations and represents one of the primary paths to power for female bosses. Under Campagna's leadership, the clan maintained its core operations, particularly in drug trafficking. She managed not only the logistics of the drug trade, but also the crucial communication chains that kept the clan functioning cohesively. Her role involved coordinating between imprisoned members and those still active on the streets, ensuring that orders were followed and profits continued to flow. What makes Campagna's case particularly interesting is how it exemplifies the way women in mafia organizations often operate behind the scenes, without the flashy violence or public profiles that might attract law enforcement attention. This more subtle approach to leadership can sometimes sometimes be more effective, allowing women like Campagna to exert significant influence while remaining relatively unknown to the general public. The details of Campagna's current status in 2025 are difficult to ascertain with precision, reflecting the secretive nature of active mafia operations. Most documented information about her activities predates 2019, with no recent public updates confirming her status. This information gap is itself telling, potentially indicating her continued effectiveness at operating below the radar. In assessing her likely current role, we need to consider broader trends in Italian organized crime. Recent law enforcement actions provide some context for mafia activity in 2025. In February 2025, Italian police conducted a major operation against the Sicilian Mafia, Cosa Nostra, arresting 181 individuals, including several high-ranking members, for crimes like attempted murder, extortion, and drug trafficking. However, no specific mention was made of Campagna in these arrests, potentially indicating that she either remains active but undetected or has transitioned to a more legitimate public face while maintaining criminal connections. As with many female mafia figures, Campagna's power likely stems not just from her individual actions, but from her position within a complex network of family relationships and alliances. These connections provide both protection and authority, allowing her to navigate the dangerous waters of organized crime with relative security. The limited public information about Campagna's activities should not be mistaken for limited influence. In fact, the most powerful mafia figures often maintain the lowest profiles, allowing lieutenants and associates to take the public risks while directing operations from the shadows. For women in particular, this strategy of invisibility can be especially effective, allowing them to wield substantial power while avoiding the spotlight that has led to the downfall of more visible bosses. Like Campagna, Immaculata Capone represents a modern, business-savvy face of the Camorra, but Capone took things even further, using legal loopholes and anti-mafia certificates not just to cover criminal operations, but to legitimize them. Immaculata Capone. When examining female power in the Camorra, few figures exemplify the sophisticated integration of criminal and legitimate business, quite like Immaculata Capone. Unlike some of her more violent counterparts, Capone represents a new breed of mafia leadership, one that operates through financial acumen and legal maneuvering, as much as traditional criminal means. Little is known about Capone's early life or exact age, which is itself indicative of her operational style, maintaining privacy and avoiding unnecessary attention. What we do know is that she emerged as a significant figure in the Naples criminal landscape in the early 2000s, operating primarily in the economic sphere rather than through direct violence. What makes Capone's case particularly fascinating is her mastery of the interface between legitimate business and criminal enterprise. As a businesswoman and alleged Camorra godmother, she secured anti-mafia certificates for clan contracts, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of the legal frameworks designed to combat organized crime and the ability to subvert them for the clan's benefit. This strategy represents a critical evolution in mafia operations. As Italian authorities have intensified efforts to combat organized crime through financial regulations and business restrictions, figures like Capone have adapted by developing expertise in navigating these systems. By obtaining legitimate business credentials and anti-mafia certifications, she created a facade of legality that allowed criminal money to flow through apparently legitimate channels. The genius of this approach lies in its subtlety. Rather than directly confronting law enforcement or engaging in high-profile criminal acts, Capone focused on ensuring the clan's economic sustainability through seemingly legitimate means. This reflects a broader trend in mafia operations toward laundering both money and reputations, making it increasingly difficult for authorities to distinguish between criminal enterprise and legitimate business. While specific details about Capone's current activities in 2025 are limited, her operational model provides valuable insight into how female mafia bosses adapt to changing circumstances. The increased focus on disrupting mafia financial networks has likely prompted leaders like Capone to develop ever more sophisticated methods of obscuring the origins of criminal proceeds. And just when you think the game can't evolve any further, a new generation is already rewriting the rules. Unlike their predecessors, they don't rely on switchblades or street fear. They wield code, crypto, and corporate clout. Meet the emerging face of tomorrow's mafia, a new breed of digital godmothers, represented here by the composite figure we'll call Elena Ferdo. Emerging female boss, Elena Ferdo. Our final profile focuses on what intelligence sources suggest is a new generation of female mafia leadership, younger, tech-savvy women who are reimagining organized crime for the digital age. While specific identities remain deliberately obscured for operational security, law enforcement sources tracking these developments have noted emerging patterns that paint a compelling picture of how female mafia leadership is evolving in 2025. For the purposes of our analysis, we'll refer to this composite figure as Elena Ferdo, a pseudonym representing representing several suspected female bosses under 40 who are believed to be active in various Italian mafia organizations in 2025. Unlike previous generations who rose to power through family connections or by filling vacuums left by imprisoned male relatives, this new cohort often brings specialized skills and education to their criminal enterprises. Many have university degrees in business, finance, or computer science, applying this knowledge to modernize traditional criminal operations. What distinguishes figures like our composite Ferrado is their fluency in technology and its applications for criminal enterprise. While the older generation might have focused on traditional rackets like extortion, drug trafficking, and prostitution, these younger leaders have expanded into cybercrime, cryptocurrency fraud, and sophisticated money laundering through international financial systems. This technological sophistication has allowed them to operate with unprecedented geographical range. No longer confined to controlling specific neighborhoods or cities, they can coordinate operations across countries and continents, managing networks of associates without ever meeting in person. A significant departure from the territory-based power of traditional mafia structures. Their approach to violence has also evolved. Rather than the public displays of force that characterized earlier mafia generations, these newer leaders employ violence more strategically and discreetly, often outsourcing it to temporary associates or using technology to create distance between themselves and the physical act. This calculated approach reduces their legal exposure while maintaining the threat that underlies their authority. What makes these emerging female bosses particularly effective is their ability to navigate multiple worlds simultaneously. Many maintain legitimate business interests or professional careers that provide both cover for criminal activities and opportunities for expansion. Some are believed to hold positions in finance, real estate, or technology firms, using these platforms to facilitate money laundering and identify new criminal opportunities. Their leadership style often differs from their male counterparts as well. Rather than relying solely on fear and tradition, they frequently build loyalty through financial incentives, professional development, and creating a sense of exclusive membership in a sophisticated criminal network. This corporate-influenced approach to management creates more stable and adaptable organizations. The February 2025 operation against Cosa Nostra, which resulted in 181 arrests, reportedly included evidence of these evolving criminal methodologies, though specifics remain classified as investigations continue. Law enforcement sources have acknowledged the increasing challenge posed by these tech-savvy operators, whose criminal activities can be difficult to distinguish from legitimate business transactions. What's particularly noteworthy about this emerging generation is how they've transformed potential disadvantages into strategic assets. The traditional mafia's skepticism about female leadership has paradoxically provided these women with greater freedom to innovate, as their activities receive less scrutiny from both older criminal figures and law enforcement accustomed to focusing on male suspects. As we look toward the future of organized crime, these younger female bosses represent perhaps the most significant evolution in mafia operations, adapting centuries-old criminal traditions to the realities of a globalized digital world. Their ability to blend legitimate expertise with criminal enterprise makes them formidable adversaries for law enforcement and signals a new chapter in the story of female leadership in organized crime. While our composite Elena Ferdo doesn't represent any single individual, the pattern she embodies is very real and likely represents the future of female mafia leadership as we move further into the 21st century. That brings us to the end of this video. For more interesting videos like this, click on the cards on your screen.